Welcome to Week in Minutes. Have a nice day. Today is Monday, 8th of September 2025. Starting the newspaper analysis with the world news, including Russia economy will be in full collapse. United States official hints at additional tariffs on countries purchasing oil from Moscow. Myanmar's ex-leader Suu Kyi's health worsening in military custody. Son says as satellites have wars, Trump claims Russia-Ukraine war could be easiest to settle. Trump wants to finish war. Zelensky calls United States tariffs over India-Russia oil deal the right idea. Prince Harry's visit to United Kingdom fueling speculation about meeting with the king as the relation appear to thaw. An ambitious California liberal and former United States Rep John Bolton dies at 92. Now from the Hindu newspaper, we have Israel's Supreme Court says the government is not giving Palestinian prisoners enough food. Rights groups have documented widespread abuse in prisons and detention facilities, including insufficient food and health care, as well as poor sanitary conditions and beatings. On September 7, 2025, ruling, the panel of 3 justices ruled unanimously that the state is legally obligated to provide prisoners with enough food to ensure a basic level of existence. Israel's Supreme Court on Sunday, September 7, 2025, ruled that the government has failed to provide Palestinian security prisoners with adequate food for basic subsistence and ordered authorities to improve their nutrition. The decision was raised in case in which the country's highest court ruled against the government's conduct during the nearly 2-year war. Since the war began, Israel has seized thousands of people in Gaza that it suspects of links to Hamas. Thousands have also been released without charge, often after months of detention. Rights groups have documented widespread abuse in the prisons and detention facilities, including the insufficient food and health care, as well as poor sanitary conditions and beatings. In the March month of a 17-year-old Palestinian boy died at an Israeli prison, and doctors have said starvation was likely the main cause of the death. Sunday's September 7, 2025 ruling came in response to a petition brought last year by the Association for Civil Rights in Israel and the Israeli rights group Gisha. The groups allege that the change in the food policy enacted after the war in Gaza began has caused prisoners to suffer malnutrition and starvation. Russia, India, and China have a tendency to interact in common interests. Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, says the 3 countries were aware of their common interests in a number of areas. This does not mean that everything is 100% of the same, but there is a tendency for China, Russia, and India to develop their partnership, deriving mutual benefit from those areas where we have the same interests. He says, according to the Russia's foreign ministry, Sergei Lavrov, the common interests of 3 countries lie in developing the economy, solving social problems, and improving the living standards of the population. Russia, India, and China are aware of their common interests in several sectors, and there is a trend of developing mutual partnership. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Sunday, September 7, 2025. Mr. Lavrov was referring to the recent bonhomie displayed by the leaders of the 3 countries at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO summit in the Chinese city of Tianjin last week. Now from Hindustan Times newspaper states that Russia hits Ukraine with 805 drones, 30 missiles. Trump's skull strike, a waste of humanity. Ukrainian servicemen shoot down Russian missile as smoke arises from the city during the Russian missile strike against Russia's attack on Ukraine in Kyiv. Russia carried out its biggest airstrike of the war on Ukraine overnight, setting ablaze the main government building in central Kyiv and killing at least 4 people, including an infant. Right idea, Zelensky on Trump's slapping tariff on India for buying Russian oil. Zelensky said he thinks the idea of putting tariffs on countries that do not trade with with Russia is right. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has backed the United States tariffs on countries like the India, even as the new rally has stepped up its diplomatic efforts to help broker an end to the Ukraine war. I think the idea to put tariffs on the country continuing to make deals with Russia is the right idea, and said as Zelensky in an interview with the ABC News. Zelensky was asked about his views on the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to China for summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO, where he was pictured alongside with the leaders of the China and Russia. His statement came as the Trump administration prepares to expand sanctions against Russia. A Trump summit with Russia's President Vladimir Putin is in Alaska last month failed to achieve a diplomatic breakthrough. Now, from the corner of the country, from the business point of view, European Union negotiators coming to Delhi this week to step up a free trade agreement talks. European Commissioner for Trade Motors Sefcovic and Commissioner for Agriculture Christophe Hansen will be in Delhi this week to lead the negotiations. Their first visit since February this year, when the College of the Commissioners traveled to India. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and the European Council President Antonio Costa during their call with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday. Days after Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the European Union leader discussed an early conclusion of the India-European Union Free Trade Agreement, two top negotiators of the European Union in charge of trade and agriculture are coming to India this week to hold talks on resolving the knotty issue of the deal. European Commissioner for Trade Moraz Sefcovic and Commissioner for Agriculture Christophe Hansen will be in Delhi this week to lead the negotiations. Their first visit is since February this year, when the College of the Commissioner traveled to India. GST cut and individual life health policies. Policyholders advised not to delay renewals. Insurance experts have said that there has been a lot of ambiguity around the GST cut for the new customers and policyholders who have paid their premiums recently. While individual life and health insurances have been exempted from the GST, the input tax credit ITC has also been removed, putting pressure on the margins for insurance players. GST 2.0 Domino's direct restaurant orders to have edge over the food delivery via Zomato Swiggy. The GST Council in its 56th meeting held last week has issued a long-pending clarification on the applicable GST rate on delivery services. Domino's levies 5% GST on its food orders, the rate for the restaurant services along with the packaging charges. Now, from Science and Tech, we have COVID portal down since early August. The union and the state governments had together regarded over 2 billion vaccination doses for COVID-19 on the portal. Throughout the pandemic, the Crown Portal certificates were touted as a signature digital achievement of the Union government, and for the several months of the certificates were required for everything from travel abroad to entry into the commercial spaces to essential and exercises to the job applications. The COVID portal, where the union and the state governments had together recorded over the 2 billion vaccination doses for COVID-19, has been down since early August, a weeks-long outage that has locked many residents in India out of their vaccination certificates. On the August month of 23, an official source said that they were aware of the issue and that the outage would be addressed quickly. However, the issue remains. Throughout the pandemic, the COVID portal's certificates were touted as a signature digital achievement of the Union government. For the several months, the certificates were required for everything from travel abroad to entry into the commercial spaces to essential and extras to job applications. While COVID-19 vaccination certificates no longer play the passport-like role they did during the most serious waves of the pandemic, owing to near total coverage of the last of the at least one dose of vaccine, the outage is not without its victims. What is this Perondose paradox? The paradox has become a useful tool across science to explain how merging two bad options can create a better result. A paradox is a strange idea from the game theory and before that from the physics. It shows that when two losing strategies are alternated in a particular sequence, the outcome can be a winning strategy. A common way to picture this is the win coin tossing games. Even if they each game individually drains your money by stacking the odds against you, switching between them at the specific intervals can allow your fortune to grow instead of shrink. The paradox has become a useful tool across science to explain how mixing two bad options can create a better result. In a cancer therapy, for example, the doctors often use two main chemotherapy schedules. The maximum tolerated dose (MTD) blasts tumors with high doses of drugs at spaced intervals. While powerful at first, MTD tends to leave behind resistant cancer cells that eventually take over. The low-dose metronomic LDM schedule delivers smaller continuous doses, but if the dose is too weak, sensitive cells escape control, and if it is too strong, resistant cells dominate. Kerala's infant mortality rate falls to all-time low of 5, and an IMR of 5 is an incredible achievement for Kerala's health system, as it is even lower than the current infant mortality rate of 5.6 in the United States. Kerala first achieved the single-digit IMR of 7 in 2018, and this was maintained by the state, touching the figure of 6 in 2019. Kerala's infant mortality rate IMR has hit an all-time low of 5 per 1,000 live births, which is 5 times lower than the national average of 25. This is as per the latest sample registration survey SRS report, the reference year being 2023. An IMR of 5 is an incredible achievement for Kerala's health system, as it is even lower than the current infant mortality rate of 5.6 in the United States. Kerala is also the only state in the country with a single-digit IMR with a zero urban-rural divide. Kerala first achieved the single-digit IMR of 7 in 2018, and this was maintained by state, touching the figure of 6 in 2019. Bringing the IMR to a single digit has been a project passionately pursued by the State Health Department and in India Academy of Pediatrics IAP state branch since 2010, as the IMR in medical research has been stagnating at 12 for years. World Health Organization WHO backs with lost drugs or just cheap generics. To ensure these life-saving injectable drugs reach people who need them most, the United Nations agency said in a statement it encouraged a generic competition to drive down the price. GLP-1 drugs, which have some side effects including nausea, were originally developed for diabetes, but research has increasingly suggested they could help with a broad range of health problems, including addiction. The World Health Organization recommended a range of blockbuster weight loss drugs to treat diabetes and obesity globally for the first time on a Friday, calling for cheap generic versions to be made available for people in developing countries. The new generation of appetite-suppressing drugs called GLP first agonists, which include the brands Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro, have exploded in popularity due to their ability to help the people significantly lose weight. More than 3.7 million people died from illness related to being overweight or obese in 2021, according to the World Health Organization figures. More than top infections killers, malaria, tuberculosis, and HIV combined. However, the sky-high prices of GLP-1 drugs, which can cost over $1,000 a month in the United States, have raised concerns they will not be made available in the poorer nations, where they could save the most lives. On the Friday, the World Health Organization added the semaglutide, the active ingredient in the Danish pharma giant Novo Nordisk's Ozempic and Wegovy, and the tirzepatide used in the United States company Lilly's Monjaro to its list of essential medicines for adults worldwide. To ensure these life-saving injectable drugs reach the people who need them most, the United Nations agency said in a statement it encouraged general competition to drive down prices. Two generative artificial intelligence chatbots encourage risky behavior, explained because after the death of 16-year-old, which had led a lawsuit against Open Artificial Intelligence, its CEO Sam Altman. Around 4 months after the suicide of teenager Adam Rainey in California, his parents in August month named OpenAI and the CEO Sam Altman is in a lawsuit alleging that the ChatGPT played a major role in their son's death instead of pushing him to seek help. This is not the first time a generative AI chatbot has been linked to a user's suicide, with bereaved family members using tech companies to take responsibility for their failure to protect the struggling children. United States probes a malware of email targeting trade talks with the China report. The Chinese embassy in Washington said it was not familiar with the details of the reported attack and that all countries face cyber attacks that are difficult to trace. The Chinese embassy in Washington said it was not familiar with the details of the reported attack. United States authorities are investigating a bogus email purportedly from a Republican lawmaker that contained malware apparently aimed at giving China insights into the Trump administration's trade talks with Beijing, the Wall Journal reports on Sunday. The malware in the email that appeared to be sent by Representative John Mueller in July month up to United States trade groups, law firms, and government agencies was traced by the cyber analysts to a hacker group. APT-41 believed to be the working of our Chinese intelligence, the newspaper said. Moliner, a harsh critic of Beijing, is the chairman of the Congressional Committee focused on the strategic competition changing between China and the United States, including threats to United States national security. The email was the latest alleged Beijing-linked hacking operation aimed at giving China insight into the recommendations to the White House for contentious trade with talks with China, said the journal, quoting people familiar with the matter. The Chinese embassy in Washington said it was not familiar with the details of the report attack and that the countries face cyber attacks that are difficult to trace. China firmly opposes and combats all the forms of the cyber attacks and cyber crime. It is said in an emailed statement. We have also firmly opposed smearing others without solid evidence. Now, there is a famous personality whose full name is Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, born on Rolihlahla, birth anniversary 18th of July 1918, up to 5 December 2013, was a South African anti-apartheid activist and a politician who served as the first president of the South African from 1994 to 1999. He was the country's first black head of the state and the first elected in a fully representative democratic election. His government focused on dismantling the legacy of the apartheid by fostering racial reconciliation, ideologically and African nationalist and socialist. He served as the president of the African National Congress Party, ANC party, from 1991 to 1987. Mandela was a controversial figure for much of his life, although critics on the right denounced him as a communist terrorist, and those on the far left deemed him too eager to negotiate and reconcile with the apartheid supporters. He gained international acclaim for his activism, globally regarded as the icon of the democracy and social justice. He received more than 250 honors, including the Nobel Peace Prize. He is held in deep respect in South Africa, where he is often referred to by his Tamil clan name Madiba and described as the father of the nation. Nelson Mandela says a very famous quotation. He says that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. He also says that there is no passion to be found playing small in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. Okay, thank you.